Welcome everybody to the final session of our Entering Students series. Joining us today is Dean Michael Sharp, who you can see on your screen, who's going to discuss our international law program. And then a little bit later this afternoon, he's going to be joined by Dean Jessica Berg to see what kind of questions you all have and what they can answer for you. So Dean Sharp, are you ready to begin?
I'm ready. All right, to get everybody in the mood. Let's see. I don't know if you can hear that. That was supposed to be pomp and circumstance. All right, failed technology. Okay, well, hello everybody. I'm Michael Sharp. I'm going to be your dean for the next 3 years, along with my co-dean Jessica Berg, and you'll be meeting her in about 28 minutes. So the folks on the line, and there's 28 of you, are the entering students who are interested in international law and wanted to zoom in and learn more about the program. Most of you have received an email from me that was overly long, and our magazine, which looks like this, that tells you all about our program. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the highlights of what's in store for you in the fall, but I really want this to be interactive. So I have the raise hand function on, and what I'd love you to do at any moment that you have a question or a thought, just click on your little blue hand and I'll call on you, and then unmute, and then we'll hear from you. And if you guys want to turn on your videos, I'd love to see your faces, unless Jim has de-videoized you, if that's such a word. Oh, there you are.
I have not. They can join if they like.
All right, they're just hiding out. All right, so friends, when school starts in the fall, right away, we're going to do some kind of event for the international law folks. If we can be outside, we'll have a picnic. We'll do something fun as an icebreaker so everybody gets to know each other. We will have the tryouts for the 3 international law moot court teams the first couple of weeks of the semester. And for the tryouts, you don't have to know anything about moot court. In fact, sometimes we have people that have done mock trial or moot court or model UN or debate in the past. Often we have people that are just, good speakers and have a good presence. And for the tryouts, we jointly try out for the 3 teams. The teams are the Jessup International Law Moot Court team, and we do really well in that competition. We won nationals for the 2nd year in a row last year. We're the last American team to win the World Championship. It's a lot of fun. And I coach that team personally. Second, we have the International Criminal Court Moot Court, and that's run out of the Netherlands in The Hague. And next coming year, the issues are going to be related to the pandemic and whether a leader can have any personal responsibility for things that they did in their country. So really timely issues. And then the third one is the VIS International Arbitration Moot Court. And for the tryouts, there's a little canned problem. You write a tiny 5-page brief. We give you a model of what a brief looks like. And you just kind of do that model because we know that you haven't learned how to write briefs yet in law school. Now, you're all thinking, oh, I'm first-year student. It's really tough to start first-year law school. I don't want to be sidetracked by this. But what we have found is our first years do super well when they do the moot court. They do well on the team, and we have about half of our team members as 1Ls, and they do well on their grades. And I think it's because you're getting a lot of intensive instruction in brief writing and in oral argument early on, and you've got some upper class students who you'll be working with who are like mentors, and it just gives you a jump start. All right, so I hope a bunch of you guys are going to be intrepid and try out for the moot court, and you'll be seeing emails about that during orientation. The next thing that happens is we have this thing called the War Crimes Prosecution Watch e-newsletter. And it's like a little mini law journal, but it's run exclusively by 1Ls with some 2nd-year students serving as the senior editors. So it's an opportunity for you as first-year law students to get experience as an editor of a publication. The publication goes out to 15,000 people. All of the members of the international tribunals and other experts in the area are getting copies of this. And so your work is going to be widely seen. In addition, we have a professor named Jim Johnson. Jim was the lead prosecutor in the Charles Taylor trial That's a trial about the president of Liberia who was involved in atrocities in neighboring Sierra Leone, and he was prosecuted in an international court. Now, after he tried that case of Charles Taylor successfully, put Charles behind bars, and then upheld that decision on appeal, in which he argued, he then came and became a teacher here. He's been here now for 7 years. And he runs our War Crimes Lab, our International Law Research Office, and he teaches international criminal law and International Law Research Lab. So Jim has created this thing called the Yemen Accountability Project. And if you read your magazine, that's the cover story. And he gets our 1Ls to join him, and it's run by senior people that are 2Ls and 3Ls. But the 1Ls get to do a lot of research and work on documenting the atrocities that are going on in Yemen and creating case files. And eventually those are going to be prosecuted by an international institution. So what I'm mapping out are a bunch of experiences you guys get to have in your 1L year involving international law, which is completely unique to our law school because no other law school lets the 1Ls do moot court. They don't have a little journal for 1Ls, and they don't have a Yemen accountability project for 1Ls to come and literally work on things that are going to change the world. In your second semester, you get to take some electives, 2 electives. And one of them can be our international law class, which I teach. And so you don't have to wait till your second year to start getting into international law. You can start that experience in your second semester. And I hope a lot of you are planning on doing that. Then at the end of the year, right now, what our rising 2Ls are doing is they are doing a write-on competition for our Journal of International Law. And the journal comes out every year. It's very thick. I should have brought one as a prop. It's over against the wall over there. And our students try out by doing a small little closed universe writing competition for 3 weeks. They write a 10-page mini article like the article that they would be writing when they're on the journal. And about half of them that try out will get picked for the journal or for one of the other journals. And it's really great to be on a journal in law school. It's a group of friends. You develop your writing skills and your editing skills and your site checking skills, and it looks great on your resume. The other thing that our 1Ls are doing now as they've left their first year of law school is we have internships all over the world. We have 115 of them that are either designated for our students or preferred for our students. And our career development office helps us get new ones and place our students in those. And every year, about 30 of our students want to do an internship abroad, and they all get them because we have plenty of placements. This year, a lot of those internships had to be canceled or done remotely because of the coronavirus and travel restrictions. For those that were canceled, we were able to come up with enough projects under some of the things that we have going on that other schools don't have. So, for example, I run the ICC Moot Court competition that's in The Hague. I started it 20 years ago, and I have students helping me research and help me write the problem for next year. Public International Law and Policy Group, which is an NGO that I founded, has a whole bunch of projects going on, and I was able to get some of our students to be fellows for the summer for that. And Jim Johnson took on a bunch of students to help him with the Special Court for Sierra Leone. Professor Avi Cover, which some of you may be familiar with, he runs our Institute for Global Security Law and Policy. He's got a bunch of students working on human rights and civil liberties in the face of restrictions involving the coronavirus, which is going to be a really interesting study that they'll produce. And Steve Petrus, who is the director of our Cox Center, has a project involving all the treaties and international laws that are related to the Great Lakes, and he's developing this for a US-Canada consortium. So we were able to find things for our students to do, and we had funding from our International Law Endowment to give the students. So unlike a lot of law schools where students are, I don't know what they're doing this summer, but they're very depressed because their jobs have disintegrated. Our students were able to do these remote experiences. They're having a great time working with our professors and these different institutions. So I'm pretty sure that things are going to go back to normal by next spring, and our students will be all over the world. But if there's any chance that it's not, we've got you covered. And that's the other thing about the international program. We have 20 different international law courses to choose from currently on our curriculum. And what we do in the spring is help you think about where you want to specialize. Do you want to do international business law? We have about 10 courses in that field. Do you want to do immigration law? We have a new course we're really excited about. Judge Allison Brown, who was the immigration judge in Cleveland, just retired, and she was hired by an NGO to do appellate practice in cutting-edge immigration cases. And she's going to teach a practicum to our students where our 2Ls will help her with these appellate cases. And then in their third year, those same students will probably do our clinic where they're in court arguing cases every day. And Alex Kewick, our professor who teaches our clinic, has a number of students that are just finishing up cases, even though they are done their school year and they've graduated. There were some cases that they're actually litigating this week, which is exciting. All right, I want to encourage you guys to interact with me. So remember that blue hand thing, just click on it and ask any questions. And if you don't, I'm gonna ask you all to introduce yourselves because we do have a couple of minutes and I'd love to see your faces and put a voice with it and everything. So does anybody have any questions or thoughts, comments? You get excited about coming to law school? What kinds of exciting things are you doing over the summer? How many of you are taking Jessica Berg's pandemic law course, which is going to be amazing? So, Thomas and Izzy, are you raising your hand to indicate that you're taking her course? That's cool. Do that. Or if you want to.
Dean Scharf, there are a few questions in the chat. Would you like to read them?
Yeah,
or
why
would
don't
like...
you, Jim, why don't you ask the questions from the chat room? Because
certainly.
I can keep my eye on the.
Okay, so Ashley was wondering, is there anything we can do as 1Ls to better prepare for moot court tryouts?
Yeah, you know what you can do if you want is you can go online, especially the International Law Students Association. They have videos of the World Championship winners on their website, and you just click on it and watch it. You know, I'm going to give you another opportunity that's really cool. Hold on. I didn't have to go far. So I have a course that's online on Coursera. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's a Stanford-based company that puts on free online courses. They call them Moocs, which stands for Massive Open Online Course. And mine is on international criminal law here. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, the course is free, and it gets about 2,500 new people every week taking the course. It's on demand, which means you can take one of the 8 modules anytime you want. You could take them, you know, you can binge take them over the weekend, you can spread them out, and it's kind of exciting and fun. And so if you want to see, other than the course on pandemic law, if you want a course on international criminal law taught by yours truly, and it's a cool course because I have integrated a lot of videos. I have like Judgment at Nuremberg, and I've got some UN videos. There's lots of good photographs and maps and stuff, and there's pop-up quizzes. It's kind of fun, and you don't need to have a law degree or even a background yet in law school to excel and enjoy it. So that might be something that you'll want to do to prepare as well. Okay, Jim, what else we got?
I'm going to kind of merge 2 questions into one. How do students join a journal, and how do they join moot court, and what kind of journal writing opportunities are there for first-year students?
Okay, so that's what I was talking about earlier when we started out. First of all, the moot court, the tryouts will be the first 3 weeks of the semester. I will send an email to all of you with the tryout problem and all the materials that you need for the tryouts. You don't have to go and do any outside research. And you'll write a little mini brief, 5 pages long, double spaced, so it's like 2.5 pages. It's not that onerous. You will do a 10-minute tryout before myself and the faculty coaches of the VIS team, which is Katie Mercer, and the ICC team, which is Cassandra Robertson and Michael Benza. And we will pick probably half the people that try out. And then we'll have you on the team. And then we'll start teaching you about moot court and how to research and write briefs, and you'll be off and running. The journal, so I mentioned that we have this online mini journal called War Crimes Prosecution Watch, which you just sign up for, and there's an interview, and all they're looking for is how dedicated you are. And if you're dedicated and you're going to do it, they'll put you on. The same thing for the Yemen Accountability Project, which is this big project run by Jim Johnson. But for our main journals, we have 5. We have the Law Review, and you get on that through your grades, top 10%, and Write On. They take about 3 people through the joint Write On competition. Health Matrix, which is usually takes about 10 people, new people a year. They have about 20 staff total. And Journal of International Law, which takes about 13 new people a year. They have about 26 people on their staff. And the Journal of Law, Technology, and the Internet. They all do a joint write-on competition, and you learn about that right after you finish your first year of classes, and it's also about a 3-week competition. There's one other journal, the Canada-US Law Journal, and that doesn't do interviews and doesn't have a process for getting on until the fall. And that's sort of in case you were too busy or for some reason you weren't able to do the joint write-on competition, there's still a fallback for you. And they do interviews and they accept people in the fall of your second year. Jim, what else you got?
All right, let's take a look here. In terms of clinic opportunities, are they reserved for students completing their capstones? Or could a student completing their capstone abroad also work in the clinic during a different semester?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, you know, the clinic is seen as a capstone. And if you are doing an externship abroad for a semester, that's a capstone. But there are some opportunities to work in the clinic, and there's some people who take 2 clinics, actually. So yeah, if you do a fall semester capstone, you could do the clinic in the spring. And there's some longer clinics and shorter clinics, and there's some flexibility. So yes, the answer is you could do both.
Okay. Are there any requirements to go into international law? Any specific foreign languages needed? Is one required to travel often, or can you be based in the US?
It's a good question.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. So, you know, if you have a foreign language, that is going to be an advantage. But my language skills are pretty horrible. And I've had a pretty successful career in international law, including working at the State Department, working on a whole bunch of USAID funded grants all over the world, running an NGO in international law, becoming a professor in international law, and now a dean. And I know a lot of people, especially English-speaking people, who don't speak foreign languages and have been successful. And that's because the language of international law right now is English, partly because the internet and for other reasons. But again, if you guys have foreign languages, that's going to be really helpful to you in your careers. The way to get into international law really is through internships. And that's why this law school is so special, because we have an endowment that will pay for your internships, which are generally not paid, and make that possible for you to travel abroad and live abroad and have that experience. And we also have a career development office that now has an expertise and has developed all of these placements. So you guys who want to are all going to have an opportunity to do externships or internships after the first year of law school, after the second year of law school, during the third year as your capstone, and some of you may even want to do postgraduate fellowships. Now, I mentioned internships and externships, and you're probably thinking, what's the difference? They sound similar. An internship is an experience without academic credit, but we are able to give you academic credit for almost all of our internships. And there's just a couple of extra hoops you have to go through. You have to do weekly journaling and check-ins, and there's a little academic component to it, but it's definitely worth doing. And most of our internships now have been converted to externships. Jim, what else you got?
All right. Are there any courses that have an intersect between national security law and environmental law?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything in environmental law does these days. So we have a regular environmental law course. We have an international environmental law class. and in our national security law courses, which are several. The reason is because the environment is not localized. It's spread out, and what happens in one state has an effect in another state. What happens in one country has an effect throughout the world. And so when you study environmental law, you are going to also learn about international environmental law. National security is super important in that area because what is happening on the environment is affecting our national security. We're having a huge conference next spring, April 21st and 22nd of 2021, on the national security issues related to the Arctic and the fact that the ice has melted. And now there's competition between Russia, the United States, Canada, and several other countries for that area and in the Northwest Passage. So a lot going on in that area.
Do some international students end up merging their interests with another field?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things about law school is you guys will come in with your interest in international law, and you're going to take a whole bunch of other courses. And you might go in a different direction, and that's perfectly fine. And you might go in a direction, then come back to international law or integrate the two. Because international law is really broad, and it affects everything. So for example, it used to be people thought, well, international law was just international business and international trade. But what if you were interested in family law? A lot of family law now is about inter-country adoptions, inter-country custody disputes. Our Cox Center wrote a brief before the US Supreme Court last fall on a case that was decided between an Italian father and an American mother over the custody of a little baby who was from the United States but born in Italy. And that's just, family law. If you think of every single field of law, contracts law, property law, there's now international property law, international real estate transactions. So yes, you are going to be able to mix and match international law with all the different fields.
Okay, and just a little postscript on that. Somebody had emailed me, and I think you just covered it, but just to clarify, plenty of opportunities to merge public interest law with international law as well, correct?
Absolutely, because international law is really two kinds. There's international business law and public international law. Public international law is basically law related to countries, NGOs, governments, and it is very public interest focused. And so a lot of what we do in that area are public interest activities. I will say one other thing. A lot of students tell me that they want to come to law school, do international law so that they can have an impact on the world when they graduate. You guys are going to get chances to have an impact on the world while you're in law school. So you're in for an exciting time. I know some people think, oh, law school, it's like 3 difficult years that I need to go through before I become a lawyer. It's not like that. You're going to have a great time at our school. You're going to learn so much and enjoy meeting all of the other people in your class and working with our professors and having hands-on opportunities to have an effect on the world.
Also within that same vein, are there opportunities within international health law and any specific courses?
Yeah, so those of you who raised your hands because you're going to take that pandemic law class, you're going to see that health law, especially in the age of the coronavirus, is very international. We have a course taught by Sharona Hoffman called International Health Law, which you may want to take. And there are placements that we have at the World Health Organization and at health organizations in the Caribbean and other places where you can do international law and health law at the same time. And by the way, you don't have to have a medical background, just like you don't have to speak a foreign language. These opportunities are available.
Okay, very good. Another question, will the international students have some disadvantages when they're joining moot court or journals when English is not their first language?
It depends how well you speak English. But when you do like the Jessup and some of the other competitions, we do find actually that there's a little bit of weight against the American teams because there are teams competing from all over the world, and the judges recognize that the American teams have an advantage. So if you have an accent, actually, it does seem in the competitions to be better as far as the judging goes. But I just would say, it's got to be hard if English isn't your first language. Even going to law school, I'm sure your education has been like a little bit more difficult. I can't even imagine doing it myself. But if you're smart enough that you've gotten this far, then you're probably going to be really good in moot court.
Okay, are there any other questions? We have a few more minutes before we're getting ready to transition over. So now's a great time if you have another question or two before we switch over. Another one just came in. Do you have any reading recommendations, anything that'll be helpful for preparing for our first year?
So the school is currently thinking about assigning a summer book, and it would be a fiction book related to the law. And it might be, there's some very famous ones like A Civil Action and The Buffalo Creek Disaster. These are books about real cases that are written so well as a fiction book that it's exciting. And you learn the law by learning a story. And so I think we're going to offer one of those as a reading assignment for the whole incoming class. And then we're going to have some reading groups. And the reason we're doing this is we know that your class is having a challenge because a lot of you can't travel during the summer, which a lot of people used to do, take long vacations, get jobs. A lot of those jobs aren't open. So you're looking for things to do. And we want to create a community of your classmates before you even arrive, so that you start to get to know each other and you start thinking about the law over the summer. And we'll make that available.
Okay. Can you talk about international internships for after your 1L year and how that process works?
Sure. So what'll happen is starting in about October, students are going to start going down to our career development office and asking them about the list of placements that we have and applying. And other students are going to go online and look for things that they just find interesting. And that's how we expand our placements over time, because students find their own. And that process will start October, November, and it will continue over winter break into January. By February, many of you will start knowing what your internships are going to be. You'll start getting offers. Some of the placements, especially foreign placements, take a little bit longer, so it might be into March and even April. But what we do is we have you sign up for a Cox Center endowed stipend. And right now, we're giving $3,000 for foreign placements and $1,500 for local, domestic placements related to international law. And we used to try to figure out how much it actually costs. That was too complicated. So we just give everybody the same amount. We have enough in the endowment to cover everybody. And we have enough internships so that everybody who wants one will get one. Now, not all of you guys are going to even want to do an international internship because we have some other really cool opportunities. We have a federal judicial clerkship program where we have 27 spots for our 1Ls to go on and work for federal appellate and federal district courts. That is so prestigious that a lot of people want to just do that. Also, a lot of firms are going to come and interview. And after your first semester grades, if you've done really well, some of these firms are just going to come after you. And they pay a lot of money in the summer. So some of you are going to want to do that and work at a big firm. A lot of the big firms will expose you to international legal work. So in Cleveland, we have Jones Day, we have Squire Patton Bogg, we have Thompson Hine and Baker Hostetler. All of them have many branch offices and have big international practice areas. And if you get a job at one of those for the summer, they'll allow you, especially if you tell them that's your interest, to work in that area. So there's a lot of different things that you might end up doing, but the internships are there for you.
Okay, very good. Does anyone have one last question before we invite Dean Berg to join for some comments and questions from you all?
And we don't have to sign off, Jim. We can stay on?
Yeah.
That's good. I was having troubles getting on today.
Yes. Glad you were able to join us on time. Any other questions specifically related to international law before we broaden the discussion a little bit?
So live from the Caribbean,
yes,
from Jessica Berg.
From the beach. Dean Berg, since Dean Sharf's already there, you go, has had the chance to introduce himself. Would you like to get reacquainted with everybody?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jessica Berg. I'm the other co-dean here at the law school. I know I've spoken to a number of you at various points, and I'm excited to be chatting with you now. Looking forward to those of you who will join me for the class in a couple of weeks, and the rest of you who will join us in the fall.
If you guys have not made the trip out to visit us, the picture behind Dean Berg is the picture of the law school from our new park, East Bell Commons. And there used to be a building there. They tore it down a year ago, and it's now a 4.5-acre park. So we are literally a law school in a park. And probably in the fall with good weather, we'll be doing things outside with you in that park. All right, so Jim, you're still around. Do you want to get things kicked off with questions?
Absolutely. Everyone, feel free to drop any questions that you have into the chat box, or feel free to join us on video, or unmute yourself, whatever is most convenient for you. But we're very fortunate that we have not one, but two deans, and they're both here to answer any questions you have about the law school, the community, really anything at all that might be on your mind. I will go ahead and ask a general question that I've been getting a fair bit, just to give everyone a little bit more time to go ahead and collect some questions. What are our plans for next year? What can you kind of tell us about where the decision-making process is in terms of maybe being in person versus remotely next year?
I'm going to let Dean Berg start that one off.
Sure. So the university is still gathering data and trying to think through what will be permissible and what will make sense. We've already taken steps within the law school to take a look at all of our courses and think very carefully about what aspects of things we thought worked particularly well in an online format, what pieces of things we might want to add in. Do we want to add some smaller sections to some things? Anticipating that we might have periods of time that we would be needing to be online for everything. And then what aspects of things do we want to have in person, and what would we like you to be doing in person? There will absolutely be some constraints on the size of the group that can get together. We know that already. And so we are revamping some of the ways that we might do things. Obviously, you're not going to be in a very typical large law classroom. But the other aspects of it are things that we're really looking for to think through. What's the best way for us to provide you the core of both the educational information and the law school experience that we can do? And we've decided this is a better way to really focus in on things rather than just kind of wait around and assume that we'll be able to control everything that's happening through the fall semester. We are very hopeful that we will have a period of time where in-person interaction will be workable, but no matter what, our goal is to have interaction. And so whether that's an online interaction or an in-person interaction, we want to be able to create the best courses for you that we can. And right now, all of our faculty are working together on that, and we're revamping quite a few of our classes. One of the positive aspects of the push in the spring semester to have everybody go online was that many people who had not tried any of the online tools were forced to use them. And many of them said there were things that actually worked better online than they had worked in person. And that has been an interesting experience for both our students and our faculty. We're also been asking the students who went through the spring semester, what worked, what didn't work. Some things have surprised us. There are certainly periods where faculty members said, well, I'm not sure if that worked at all. I created little video recordings about some areas of the law that students sometimes get stuck on, and I thought they were very routine, and I posted them up there, but all of the students said they were fantastic and they really appreciated them. So people are changing their ideas about some of the things that they could provide in terms of resources and classes. But we should have a university level decision about some aspects of this later this summer. And then of course, all of us will be sort of at the mercy of where we stand on the public health side.
Jim,
There's a whole bunch of questions in the chat right now, so I don't know if you want to go to those.
Jim, go ahead and find questions for us.
Yeah, I think we bought ourselves enough time. Dean Berg, this one is probably a little bit more geared towards you. When are we going to know a little bit more about the pandemic law course, or do you have any updates you can share with us now?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of things here. So we had a little bit of glitch in our Canvas system. It's been resolved today, so that one should be opening up. You should get information already, or should have had it already, about the timeline of the course. So the course will be taught in June. It's going to be taught on Mondays and Thursdays at noon to probably about 1:10. I want to leave a little bit of a cushion around that hour to give us a little bit of time to wrap up before you schedule something else. The timing is designed to allow people, there's another question on here, to work. If you're working, that, simply to take that break in the middle of the day on the 2 days a week, or people who are on different time zones, so we're not hitting too early in the morning, at least for the West Coast time zone. The course is 1/3 completely asynchronous and 2/3 synchronous. So the 2 days will be our discussion days. There'll be a wide variety of materials. All of the materials will be easily available to you online. There won't be any books or anything that you have to purchase. The topic areas, I think I joked about this in another setting. I'm always reminded about the quote, I think it's Ben Franklin, if I had had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. Part of the difficulty with the 1-credit class in this topic area is I probably have enough information for a 3 or 4 credit class. So we'll have a sprinkling of topics, and we may well have some time for people who are interested to continue to chat about it. The class itself, we will do, as long as you've let us know that you want to do the class, you will get instructions. What you're going to need to do is you'll have to activate your login ID and then activate your Canvas account. And then we will populate the Canvas account, and you'll see it show up probably closer to the beginning of June, by the time we get all of the stuff together in there. So you'll see everything there, and you'll see all the materials that you need to prepare for the first class, and all of what you need to do for the class itself. I'm happy to answer specific questions on anything there, but I'm just kind of glancing over. And before, there are 2 international law questions. There's one other thing. Is there any way to know what other elective classes will be offered before choosing the pandemic law class? So I can tell you what's offered generally, but they shift around a little bit. You will have an opportunity to add an additional elective. So although this does complete your requirement, we do allow students to take one other elective if they choose. There will be an international law elective. There is going to be an environmental law. Usually it's on something with climate change. We are likely to have one sort of public policy elective, although I don't know exactly how that one is going to be framed yet. There is sometimes we will offer something like law and creativity, although again, I'm not sure if that one will be on or off. So some of them for the spring classes are a little bit up in the air, but I can guarantee that you'll see one in environmental, one in international, and one what I sort of describe as kind of a public policy area. But we would not, you'd still be able to take one of those other courses if you took the pandemic law class.
Okay, Dean Scharf, this one's shifting a little bit back to you. For study abroad opportunities and concurrent degree programs, are classes usually conducted in English, or some programs conducted in a foreign language?
So the current degree programs are the ones we have at Middlesex University in England, so that's English. University of Paris in France, that used to be partly in French, but they have moved it to be all in English. And at Camillus University in Spain, and that's all in English. Now, it's of course good if you have foreign languages, because you're going to be living for a year in one of those countries and you're going to want to interact. And our students who have done that have actually parlayed that into jobs in those countries. So that's the advantage of having the foreign language, but the instruction will be in English. We do have other semester-long exchange programs in 5 different continents. All of them are in English. Jim?
All right, another internationally focused one. What about the prospect of working in international law, considering the recession and kind of the state of globalization, especially considering the deterioration of China and American relations?
So the thing about law is when things are getting better or when things are getting worse, law has more work to do. So the deterioration in relations just means that there's a lot more complicated business and public international law issues between those countries. But, you know, yeah, you got to think long term. The United States and China are likely to be the two economic superpowers for the next 50 years. And so those relations will go up and down, but international law will always be there, and there'll be lots of opportunities.
Okay, what other questions do people have? What kind of things can the deans tell you? I'll go ahead and type a chat solicitation one more time, but please don't let this opportunity pass.
Yeah, we'll tell you
any questions you have.
We'll tell you fun things about us if you want to know. So
you can go ahead and do that.
2 days ago, we had our weekly staff meeting, and we've been trying to make those enjoyable by having themes. So the theme was bring your pet to the staff meeting. And I took my computer and put it on the ground or on the floor, and I sat down with my Siberian Husky, who looked humongous, and she was well behaved, and we had our staff meeting. Dean Berg has a pair of cats that make noises that sound an awful lot like humans. And also her daughter has a dog that comes and visits every once in a while. I wonder if any of you are bringing pets with you to Cleveland. Some people do. And there are other people who make money by being pet walkers while you're in class. So it's a whole circular relationship. Other things I can tell you guys, I think I've mentioned in an email or two that we have a faculty student rock band, and I play the guitar and sing in it. And we do that a couple times a semester at the little tavern that's across the street from the law school. And we do it with a $5 cover charge that goes to the public interest law fellowships. And we raise about $500 each time. It's pretty nice to do. And everybody goes over and has a great time. If we're not able to do that because of the coronavirus, we'll figure out a way to do it online. But if you want, there are some online clips at our website in our video library of the band playing. And we've even played at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So it's kind of fun.
I had a question that was actually, I'm sorry, Dean Berg, what, did you want to share something?
No, I was just looking at the questions already.
Yeah, let's hear the questions.
So there's one again on the pandemic law about credit. So all of the 1L electives are graded on a credit, no credit basis. And this one will be the same way. And also the credit will show up either the fall or the spring semester. I think we might have put it in as a fall course at this time. This is what enables us to offer it to you during the summer, but not have to worry about the fact that you're not officially enrolled until fall. It also avoids you paying any tuition over the summer. So the course will be just added in when you'll see it on your transcript eventually. The other part of it that I realized I hadn't noted, it goes for 4 weeks. So we finish up right before the 4th of July holiday. So it's really a small section for the 1 credit. So there's a series of questions that came in here.
I was going to say a kind of a fun one before we get back into some more of the technical stuff. Most interesting positions you all have held? Most interesting jobs?
In law or in life?
Let's do both, just for sport.
Well, I'll kick things off while Jessica's thinking. So, you know, one of the positions I had was as a Metro Park maintenance person. I really learned the value of hard work. When my son complains about what he's doing, I said, well, you never had to do some of the things I had to do. I think my most interesting position was when I was attorney advisor for United Nations affairs at the State Department. I was there during an interesting time in history, right after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And the Security Council did more in that 2-year period than it had done in the 50 years prior. And I was right in kind of the heart of all of that. And most of what I've written since has sort of been inspired from those couple of years. How about you?
So my most interesting non-law job was probably, I worked in a combination video store back when they were first getting videos, and ice cream parlor. And we would make the ice creams, and each week they'd ask the staff what we wanted to have added in. And although I wouldn't think this, given my love of ice cream, there are some things that just don't mix into an ice cream. And we did find that out the hard way. And then my most interesting law job probably was working at the American Medical Association. So I worked with them to develop all of their policies. And it was a really fascinating process to think about how to function within the professional association and to set some of the standards, and the realization that much of the stuff we developed, the courts would pick up and use whether or not we wanted them to use it in setting standards.
This one's a little bit more of a serious question. Will decision on whether the fall semester will happen virtually or in person be made prior to the deferral request deadline on July 5th? Asking as a parent of a school-aged child who may be affected if public school remains closed for any portion of 2020-2021 school year.
Yeah, so here's what we can tell you about that. We will offer everything that you need virtually, in addition to whatever we can do online. So we are doing that because we know a lot of other parts of your life may not be settled, even if we know exactly what would be permissible in Cleveland. So we know that there are some people that are going to get stuck places, possibly international students, possibly others in states which might have quarantine or stay-at-home orders that come and go at different points in time, people who may have situations where family members they're caring for or children are not able to come to campus. So you actually can choose to be remote if that's something that you're going to need because of other life circumstances related to the pandemic. We very much hope that people will be in person and that we can be in person. I don't know if the university will make a final decision. And I also want to caution people, even if they make a decision for how much they'd like to be in person early in the summer, that can change as the public health situation changes. So we are already committed to offering every part of this to you remotely, and hopefully parts of it will also be able to be done in person. But we want to make sure that nobody winds up in a situation where they're stuck and they can't get to us. So we will, through the fall semester, offer you everything you need.
Okay, Dean Scharf, Victoria wants to know, is the tavern that you play at the Barking Spider, she thought they went out of business. And you
No,
would be
they
correct
did
about that.
go out of business, and then we switched to something called the Happy Dog, and they went out of business. And so now we are at Cosmic Dave's Rock Club, and it's in the old building that was the Barking Spider, and it still has the same stage, and it's a wonderful venue.
All right. Rebecca would like to know, how would you describe the culture of the law school? How does CWRU differ from other local and Midwest law schools?
I'll start off on that. So first of all, our school's smaller than most law schools by design, and that's because we are a national leader in experiential education. We were just ranked 9th best in practical training, and we can only do that by keeping our class sizes elite sized. But we're also different than most law schools in our region because 2/3 of our students come from outside of our state. We're really an international and a national law school. And the third thing is we have the biggest SJD program of any of the schools in our region. What that means is we have foreign lawyers getting the equivalent of a PhD here at our law school. Most of them are becoming college professors, law school professors in their home countries around the world. Some of them are becoming judges. And what it will do is allow you to interact with these really top level people that will give you just a whole group of people to visit all around the world, or in your law careers to have as potential clients or networks that you will have while you're at the school. And all of that is quite different than most of the other schools. Jessica, what would you add there? Because there are other things that are unique to our
No, I think you hit on the sort of key aspect to it. I mean, I think we're a very interesting mix of a small school environment with a variety of very interesting opportunities. And the mere fact that we're located where we are in the university campus means there's a lot to take advantage of when you're here.
Gotta remember to unmute. All right, so Megan wants to know, since Cleveland tends to have heavy snowfall, are there often snow days or online instruction days?
Yeah, and I think someone actually responded on this one. We don't have heavy snowfall. Cleveland's a very, there are a lot of microclimates, but the heaviest snowfall tends to be significantly east, not on the campus. And the further east you go and closer to the lake, the more you're likely to get lake effect snow. The Cleveland itself and the campus rarely have snow days, and most of the areas you're coming in from are rarely going to have issues. The west side can sometimes get no snow, even if there are, there's snowfall right up next to the lake. So that it's fairly rare. Someone noted a little later, we did have the polar vortex that affected huge swaths of the Northeast, and there were a few kind of things got so cold. Things that happened a few years ago happened again briefly. Even there, you're unlikely to see much in the way of cancellation.
What else would everyone like to know? What else can we tell you about Case Western, Cleveland, the community? Can the deans tell you about themselves?
So, we wish that we could have had you all come out for visits for our newly admitted Students Day and our entering Students Day, because we take everybody around in these trolley tours to see the different areas where you can get apartments. I hope you all have zoomed in on the conversation about housing, where it was explained that we're going to pair you up with members of our Student Bar Association who have volunteered to help you guys look around the local communities virtually. I picture in my mind that they're going to have you zoomed in on their iPhones, and they're going to be showing you, oh, look, there's an apartment, so you can see them. I have no idea if that's how it's going to work, but I'm guessing. And they're going to help you with your apartment searches before you can get back here. I do also note that the governor did just lift the restrictions, so if you're coming from out of state, you don't have to do 14 days of quarantine before you can get up and about. So literally you could come and check out the area.
Okay, a few more questions sneaking in. What will we learn in Leap 1 and Leap 2?
So Leap 1 and Leap 2 are your initial research and skills classes, research skills and writing class, I should say. So they are designed as an introduction both to the initial aspects of litigation skills and writing and transactional skills and writing. So among other things, you will learn about, say, defining contractual terms and drafting parts of a contract. You will also learn about how to negotiate, how to draft a brief, how to write a memo. So there's a variety of different pieces of things, and they're all built on simulations. The faculty create problems. So you actually are assigned to a case and a law firm, and you work on those cases, both on transactional side and litigation side. And the goal is by the end of the year, you will have a really good grounding in both sides. We've heard from people who had our students after their first year that they are better prepared than many other students, particularly on the transactional side, which many schools hold off on doing if they do it all, which means you will have gotten exposed to things that other students may not have seen. You also then are able to start to get a sense of which direction you might be interested in going. Are you thinking the litigation side of things? Are you thinking the transactional side of things? That will help you both in making choices for your upper level courses, making choices for Leap 3, which would be advanced transactional or advanced litigation skills. You have a choice at that point, and making decisions sort of broadly about what you might want to do for your summer or your career.
Okay, we've had some questions about free access to the CWRU Rec Center.
Yeah, so all of the campus services are available to all students. There are a few things that are designated for undergraduates, but yes, the gyms and facilities are available. There's also one-to-one fitness, which is a membership, but has a very reduced membership rates for different things that you might be doing. But yes, the rec centers and everything else, there's nothing about being a law student that would prevent you from having access to any of the university facilities.
I'll go ahead and I'll answer one. Sydney's question was, if we're able to conduct classes in person in the fall, will there be walking tours available in the fall as well? We'll certainly be communicating as soon as we've determined it's safe and we can host you on campus. We'll let you know when those are available. And I very much look forward to connecting with you all and hopefully being able to show you around a little bit later this summer, and certainly, in the fall, will help connect people. And there are some community groups which also do some community stuff around the University Circle community, so you can learn a little bit more about it that way. But we would love to help get you a little bit more acclimated with the building and the community in person as soon as it's safe to do so. When we know exactly when that is, we'll let you know. Moving on to the next question. Anything you would like to add, Dean Scharf?
That's good.
No, go ahead with the questions.
Okay. So Ashley wants to know that most 1L students are signed up for their classes and schedules automatically. Is that the same for CASE, or is there anything we need to do to sign up for courses?
No, you won't. I mean, the only thing you need to decide about is the elective. For most of you, that will be in the spring. For those of you who want to do the summer one, you simply have to let us know that you'd want to do that. We handle all the rest of your 1L registration.
Okay. Rebecca says, going off Ashley's question, is it possible to see what a typical 1L schedule looks like?
Yes, and in fact, we'll probably have some schedules for you soon, but yes, we can show you a typical 1L schedule. Can tell you what we try to do is spread out your classes so that you don't have a lot of things back to back, so we try to balance things a little better. We do tell students to assume, roughly you will classes will run anywhere from 8 in the morning until about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. We are unlikely to, certainly you wouldn't have 8 a.m. every day, and you wouldn't have, late afternoons every single day. So it's a balance. We try to balance our sections so that, they're spread out. This year we might have things look a little different, only because depending on the number of students we can get at any given time in person, if the in-person is permissible, we may add some small sections. So some of you may come in different groups to be able to have that in-person piece of it. So we may have our sort of normal class schedule plus some sessions where you get a chance to be in person that look a little different. And we're just thinking about creative ways that we can do that to work around public health constraints.
Okay. Can you discuss mental health resources that are available for law students through health services?
Sure. So we have services within the building and outside. We do have a health services and mental health services, both for walk-in and appointments. We do also provide a wide range of support services within the law school. So we have people who will be available for academic support, health support generally, mental health support. We'll check in on you periodically. We also do a series of gatherings, which at this point I think some of them will have to be virtual, where we describe and make available to you the issues you may be facing, sort of ways to think through dealing with stress, dealing with classes, the kinds of things you might need to deal with for finding jobs. All of that are part of a programming we do for the 1Ls, which is a combined effort from our student services and our career development offices. So I would say there's sort of a variety of different things depending on the level at which you want to access services. Everything from the ability to walk in or make an actual appointment with a social worker or a therapist, to just general things where we may provide group support or group ideas about ways that you can handle things that are going on.
Here's a great question from Thaddeus. I like this one. What are you most looking forward to about the upcoming semester? What do you think the rising 2Ls and 3Ls are most excited about returning to Case Western law post-pandemic?
I'm looking forward to meeting all of you guys and to having students back around here. It's pretty quiet right now. The school, it starts to get real exciting in the fall semester. We're hosting the American Society of International Law's mid-year meeting, which is a really big deal for us. Hopefully there'll be an online and present version of that. I can't wait to see what some of our faculty have done in the area of creating really sophisticated online programming, because this summer we are offering them a boot camp about how to use all the bells and whistles available to the technology to take their online teaching to another level. And I think that this fall is going to be an interesting year because the pandemic won't be gone yet, but everybody will have gotten used to it, and there's like an excitement in the air to get things going. Jessica?
Yeah, no, I think you've covered it. I guess, but I would feel like I think we're most excited about actually being post-pandemic, since we're still in the middle of it. But I think everybody's looking forward to starting to see people again. You know, really, we're a small and close-knit community, and we're excited about having new students coming in and getting a chance to see everyone.
Jim?
Very good. Oh, did you have something to say, Dean Sharf?
No, I was going to ask you to ask the next question.
All right. If you take advantage of the 3L opportunity to study the whole year abroad, what resources are available to prep for the bar exam while you're abroad?
Oh, that's a good question. So first of all, on the bar, we're excited to tell you that the February results came out and we were #1 in the state again. So in the last 6 administrations of the bar exam, we were #1 5 times and #2 1 time. And it's really good for this law school. Now, most of the bar classes you will take are the first year classes. And then some you'll take in your second year. And I suppose there's 1 or 2 you might take in your third year. But almost all of them are going to be the ones you take before you go abroad. We also currently have a program for our students when they graduate law school and they use that summer to study for the bar, in which we are giving them a conditional scholarship. It's $1,000 conditioned on them doing 90% of the practice questions on the bar prep courses that they're taking, and they can take any of 3 different courses. And a lot of your preparation will occur when you get back from your study abroad year and you're back that summer. That's when most people sort of really focus on getting ready for the bar.
Okay, do we have any final, oh, yes, one snuck in. Is it difficult to apply for study abroad in your third year?
No, it's not. In fact, we have so many placements that you basically apply in your spring of your second year, and you give a couple of options of where you want to go, and everybody gets one of their options. And when there are limited spots available, we have been able to negotiate extra spots for our students in return for giving extra spots to the foreign students. So we haven't had a situation where people have been closed out.
Okay, great. Any final questions from the incoming students? Now would be a time to ask. We're very fortunate that we have very accessible deans, very accessible faculty and staff. We're more than happy to chat with you again in the future, but I just wanted to make sure we didn't have any other final questions while we're all here together today. Dean Sharf and Dean Berg, do either of you have any closing remarks as we wrap up the Entering Student Series?
I think we were just excited to get a chance to start to get to know you. We're looking forward to getting to know you better in the fall, and Dean Berg is very lucky that she will start getting to know you in the course of teaching you this summer. If you haven't already registered for her course, I encourage it. She's an amazing teacher. I know she wouldn't blow her own horn, but everybody says it. So you'd have a great time in that course.
Generally speaking, just, we're really looking forward to getting to know you. And please, if we haven't answered something or you think of another question, write us and let us know. We'd be happy to help.
We really appreciate you all engaging with us throughout the past 2 weeks. Hopefully this was helpful. On Monday, we're going to be sending out a little bit of a survey. Please go ahead and answer it, and please answer it candidly so we know how we did and what additional information we can get to you. But we really appreciate your time and attention for this past 2 weeks. Everyone have a safe Memorial Day weekend as we head into that. And as always, please feel free to reach out to us with any questions that you have. You can always find us at lawadmissions@case.edu, and we'll be reaching out throughout the summer just to make sure that we all stay in touch. You can also engage with us on each other through the Facebook page, so please don't be shy about doing that. And as always, I'll be hanging on for a few minutes if you have any questions you'd like to ask of me privately. But I will formally sign off, and we look forward to hopefully seeing everyone sooner rather than later. Take care.